Why are young men so lonely? Well, we've looked into this. We've talked about it. Let's listen to this guy explain how actually it's because we all need Jesus to come inside of us or something.
Epidemic.
Inside of our hearts.
All men need something to fight for. Part of the reason why sports and video games are so popular among modern men is because there's not much for men to fight for in the real world, but men still look up to heroes and role models who fight for what they believe in. Why do you think men think about the Roman Empire so much?
Okay, if you're a man thinking about the Roman Empire a bunch, let me tell you right now, I have solved your loneliness. I figured it out. I figured out not why all men are lonely, but why you, young man, thinking about the Roman Empire is lonely. I've figured it out. I've solved it. It's because you're spending all day LARPing about the fucking Roman Empire, buddy. Why does it always go back to this? Men, we are the warriors. We have a warrior inside of us.
Traditionally, the things men would fight for are their faith, family, and country.
Oh no. Are we going fascist directions here? Because you realize that if you think this is what men need to fight for, the next step up, right? If you think this is really going to fix all of men's problems, the next step up, dude, is to start enforcing this shit via the government. And when you start trying to legislate people's faith, family, you're getting into fascistic territory.
In terms of faith, Gen Z is the least religious generation in human history. It's also the most depressed generation in human history, and that's why a lot of young men turn to political extremism, because they need something to believe in, but a lot of young men also believe in nothing and become nihilist, and they try to drown out their meaninglessness with marijuana, video games, and pornography.
So he is also, I feel like by bringing up the least religious generation and then mentioning that they're the most depressed, interesting. Pretty sure that you can look in the Scandinavian countries, which are actually have very high rates of a-religiosity, people that are just very neutral towards religion. I'm pretty sure those areas also have much higher rates of well-being.
For family, back when the church had power in society and encouraged monogamy, most men were able to find a wife.
Remember the good old days when the church taught that you should be monogamous? Gee, it's not like the current day evangelicals are the most anti-gay group in the country, right? It's not as if they are also the most fervent fighters for traditional values like monogamy. One man, one woman. The good old days, man. Nowadays, churches are like, have fun, do an orgy. God loves ya.
You had one man assigned to every one woman, and there's about an equal number of men and women in the world. Mathematically, everyone's gonna find someone. But ever since the church's authority declined and was replaced by hookup culture, now we've kind of reverted to a prehistoric model of polygamy, where a few men get all the women and the rest of the men don't get any.
Oh no.
Either way, it's really hard for the average man to start a family.
Yeah, that's the fucking bullshit, like, incel thing, where it's like 90% of the women are fighting for like 10% of the guys or something. Like, it's just all stupid shit. We've already gone over the hypergamy argument, whether or not like women are hypergamous and things like this. And so right now, like, a lot of men are not getting married the same way that they used to. That's because, again, a lot of men are living with their parents at higher rates because of economic issues. There are economic issues at play here. You think that this is like because everybody, stopped believing in God or something? Because of the church?
Either way, it's really hard for the average man to start a family. For country, this country has spent the past 20 years telling men that they're the oppressor, which kind of explains why men are not too keen to fight for their country.
Man, men used to be happy when they would go off and die for American oil interests. Oh, take me back to the good old days when I had a purpose, to be blown the fuck up in the mines.
Now, back in the day, what gave men something to work for and something to fight for was the church, specifically the Protestant churches, and I'll explain why. First of all, the Protestant work ethic, which of course the left says is racist, says that you should work as hard
We'll have to look into that at some point. I bet it is.
as possible because you're glorifying God in doing so by building up his kingdom, and that's why historically Protestant men built the most successful societies to ever exist.
Dude, that's like toxic productivity on steroids. Now it's like, it is your job to work. Why? Because of a crippling fear of failure? Because all my self-esteem is built onto this one thing? No, because God himself commands you as a man to fucking work. Why do I care about glorifying God? I bet half these people were really, like, what are they really doing? They're glorifying their own society. where they're building massive civilizations like he's showing or whatever, they're glorifying their own society. This is just a phony, like, oh, think that you're glorifying God. It's like holding the carrot in front of you almost. Like, you're glorifying society. You're not glorifying God through your work. It doesn't even make sense. It just doesn't follow why working would glorify God, because it's his kingdom or something. Okay.
And of course, Protestantism isn't the only form of Christianity, but I do believe it's been most successful in accomplishing the mission of Christianity, and it puts the most emphasis on personally believing and understanding that Jesus Christ died for your sins and rose again from the dead, and through him you can be raised from the dead as well.
Oh, right. So we're back into the classic, if you don't believe a certain way, you will burn in hell. God is a just God. He is a righteous God. God embodies justice, but he does not judge people according to the wrongs they've done or the rights they've done. He doesn't judge them on anything, actually, except as to whether or not they believe in him. And in that case, are you really even a fair judge? How are you the ultimate justice if you're judging on the basis of belief and nothing else?
So if young men band together and do a crusade to restore the institutional churches, it'll do a few things. First of all, it's going to completely solve the male loneliness epidemic. You know, it used to be completely unheard of for people to not have friends.
Is this a meme? Did this mofo just advocate a motherfucking crusade? Not really, but come on.
First of all, it's going to completely solve the male loneliness epidemic. You know, it used to be completely unheard of for people to not have friends, because everyone's community was through the local church. But ever since the decline of
it would really suck for people back then if they didn't believe in God, huh? That's where all of your social interaction comes from, through the church. Oh, you don't believe in God anymore? Fuck you, goodbye. You are now alone.
Church, it's been very common for men to have no in real life friends. Number two,
wait, since the ending of church? Pretty sure you can see loneliness rates increasing regardless of the church decline. I'm pretty sure that a large reason that male loneliness is a thing is because of the workforce changing as well. Men used to fight for, if you want to put it that way, the job. They would go to manufacturing jobs and other physical labor related jobs and things like this. That's going away. That also is hurting men's abilities to make friends.
We all know that men bond with each other over going on an adventure and having some cause to be passionate about. And number three, it will save the souls of people in Generation Z. You know, Christianity isn't just good because it's useful. It's good because it's objectively true, and because it delivers a message that saves people from eternal...
It's objectively true. He says subjectively. This thing is objectively true. Hey, man, it'll give you something to fight for. You realize that you just brought up earlier how men are sometimes more prone to radical political extremism. Your reason for this being that they didn't have the church to fight for some dumb shit. But it's true that if you're feeling lost and directionless, you are more susceptible to extremism. But guess what, redeemed Zoomer? You are preaching extremism. You're preaching the extremism that some of these sad, depressed young men are more susceptible to. You're teaching this bullshit.
Having the institutional church will make the culture better for both young men and young women, because it's going to rebuild strong families and communities that are centered around a common purpose. So if you're looking to explore...
Oh yeah, it'll help women so much. Hey wife, shut the fuck up. Go make my kids, make my sandwich, okay? And leave me alone. I'm the man, I lead the home. Literally, when marriages are equal... When relationships are equal, those relationships are healthier and last longer. The Christian archetype for a relationship is the man is the head of the household and he leads the house. But that is not actually the most healthy method for a successful relationship. So your objective religion actually doesn't even help improve cultures for men and women as far as the marriage and whatnot.
The bottom line is, if you're a young man in today's world, the culture rejects you, but Jesus does not. So join the church and find something to believe in.
Wow. So actually, the truth of the matter is that culture entirely does not reject men. There are some people that make poor arguments as far as toxic masculinity and shit like this. However, a lot of these talks about toxic masculinity are actually about these harmful expectations that are harming men as well. It's not about rejecting men from the culture. It's about raising awareness of how these cultural norms are rejecting men, how these cultural norms are hurting men. That's what it's really supposed to be about. It's supposed to be coming from a position of care and concern for a group of people who are being met with ridiculously unfair expectations. Yeah, there are economic issues, there are unfair expectations, there's emotional suppression, there are all kinds of issues that play a role in contributing to men feeling depressed. Just like there are all kinds of issues that contribute to women feeling depressed. But I can tell you right now, the answer is not to go to church. I don't think that's the best answer. If you believe that stuff and that's where you want to go and you have community there, then it probably, or it could help, I guess. But if you're just going to go to church just 'cause, then yeah, no.